So before that, I just came back from Cuba. Had the privilege this is my second trip in 11 months. And I want us to just go on a quick trip. So just strap on your safety belt, and we're going to head over to Cuba. Let's land in Havana, which is literally, if you grew up in the 50s, 40s, this is the closest thing to time travel that I think for any American. So it's the land of the classic cars. And let's go into one of these, the neighborhoods in Old Havana. In fact, let's go into that home in the corner. Right now, a Discovery Bible group is in session. And this is some neighborhood friends, a couple of families coming together, and they get in the Word on a weekly basis. Actually, they come together on a weekly basis. They study Scripture individually by themselves, but not only just to hear it and to learn and get familiar with Scripture. They look at, what does this teach me about God? How can I obey this passage? How can we do this as an individual? And also, how can I do this as a community? How can we start to love one another and really meet each other's needs? But also, how can we love our neighbors? Especially those that are outside this group and that don't know Christ yet. So that's part of the DNA of this group. And there we go. You will really see 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17 come alive in front of your eyes, where it says all Scripture is God-breathed, and it's useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. So this becomes a lifestyle, and Scripture is central. And as we sit there, we notice that this lady and this young man there, they're communicating in sign language. And afterwards, we talk to them and find out, this young man is deaf. But his mom, as they're doing the discovery, he's talking to her, and also the sister becomes his voice to the group. So he's also participating. The cool thing is, 2 days later, he's a student at the University of Havana. He has 3 other friends, also deaf, and they are doing discovery group themselves also. So you see, it's not just coming together, but they're also multiplying. And so let's go from Havana, let's go to Las Tunas here on the east. And this is a little bit the epicenter of the movement. 2.5 years ago, we trained a team of 70 people in this disciple making, we call it DMM principles. And they just went out and they took the challenge that Dustin threw out. They look at their communities and they realize there's a lot of work to be done. There's also a lot of transformation needed. And they just went by faith. And since then, as we go into one of the communities, this is a house. There were several groups. As they become baptized, people become baptized. A community of believers committed to one another and also committed to reaching their city started to emerge, and a church emerged. And they pulled some resources and they bought this abandoned house, and that's now the church in that community. It's the first church ever in this town. And as we worship with them and we start to realize that this is one of 3,094 communities that have been started in the last 2.5 years. That's over 30,000 new disciples of Jesus. So can you imagine if you get to see some of these communities like this exact one? They are now more disciples in that town than not. More people in a discovery group than outside. And it has completely transformed this whole town. So their goal this year is to, and they're going hard after this, is to add another 7,000 discovery groups. They want to reach the 10,000 group mark. And that'll push them over about 100,000 new disciples. And I believe they're going to get there, or they're going to get close.